This podcast is brought to you by Progressive. Are you driving your car or doing laundry right now? Podcasts go best when they're bundled with another activity, like Progressive home and auto policies. They're best when bundled, too. Having these two policies together makes insurance easier and could help you save. Customers who save by switching their home and car insurance to Progressive save nearly $800 on average. Quote a home and car bundle today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $793 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Last April, a sports movie came out.
You don't know what tennis is. It's a relationship.
But it wasn't just any sports movie. It was Challengers, a romance-flavored romp starring Zendaya and two up-and-coming guys named Josh O'Connor and Mike Feist.
Art's got his coach, Tashi Donaldson, who also is his wife.
I'm playing for both of us, Tashi.
This movie promised everything. Tennis, thruples, a killer soundtrack, and of course, beautiful young stars being mischievous and, well, beautiful.
It's my favorite movie of the year so far. I absolutely adore this movie.
Ash Nelson is a marketer and business journalist. They saw Challengers 4 times in the theater and were really excited to own a copy of this movie. During the lead up to the film's release, social media posts had revealed the details of some of the film's most complicated shots.
The technical aspects of making some of those parts of the movie, for those who haven't seen it, it's not really a spoiler, but there is a moment in the movie where the POV is the tennis ball. And you're sort of whipping across the court in between these two, like, lifelong competitors, friends, enemies, lovers. And I'm like, how do you do that? Is that CGI? Like, I know they're not strapping a nano camera to the tennis ball. And there's also a scene where the audience sort of goes beneath the court, and we're supposed to be looking at them playing from beneath, but it had to have been, like, a clear, like, plexiglass tennis court.
In the past, these "how did they do that" explainers would end up in the special features section of a DVD. But now, the only way to find this type of trivia is to go to Zendaya's Instagram or read interviews with the director. Later, the company releasing the film announced that none of this background content was going to be on the Blu-ray version of Challengers. In fact, the movie wasn't even going to be released in 4K, which is the best viewing experience outside of a movie theater.
Yeah, it was very, very surprising, and a lot of people online were really surprised as well. Fans lose a sense of ownership. There's sort of a level of fandom that's become really important to what we consume, more so than how it was when I was younger, and not really how I do it now. I pay attention to actors and actresses and certain directors, but I just sort of see everything. So I think not including those more personal pieces, fans are missing that sense of ownership. It's hurting the studios, because how else are you going to pack value into what a lot of people consider a dying medium or like a dying artifact?
According to CNBC, DVD sales plummeted 86% between 2006 and 2019, and that could have big ramifications for fans. Late last month, Paramount shut down the Comedy Central website, wiping out the entire Colbert Report archive and every episode of The Daily Show dating back to 1999. It's just the latest example of a studio yanking shows or movies from streaming. And without a hard copy, that leaves fans and creators in the lurch. But Ash says, when it comes to physical media, there are signs of life.
Access is so important. People having access to more titles leads to people loving film and wanting to have power over it and wanting to have it in their physical collections.
Today on the show, In a world dominated by streaming, could physical media make a comeback? I'm Cheyna Roth, in for Lizzie O'Leary. This is What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. This episode is brought to you by SAP. First, the bad news. SAP Business AI won't help you generate cubist versions of your family's holiday photos, but it will help you understand which supplier is best to help you roll out your plant-based packaging in Southeast Asia, identify the training your junior project manager needs to rise up the ranks, and automate repetitive tasks while you focus on big innovations. So you can be ready for the next opportunity. Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI.
If you're looking for a simple yet sophisticated investing experience, check out public.com. From stocks to options, bonds to crypto, it's all there. You can even earn an industry-leading 5.1% APY on your cash. Public is trusted by millions of investors, and NerdWallet just gave Public 4.6 stars and calls it an impressive experience. Sign up in 2 minutes at public.com. All your investing in one place. This is a paid advertisement for Public Investing. 5.1% APY as of June 17th, 2024, and is subject to change. NerdWallet overall rating 4.6 out of 5 as of May 2024. Full disclosures in the podcast description.
Do we know how big the market for physical movies is right now, and how has this changed over time? I mean, I'm guessing streaming plays a big role in this.
The most interesting piece of all of this is when you look at DVD and disc sales, they've been down for 16 years. We know this. It's not that surprising. But when you remove specifically the DVD sales out and you're just looking at Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD sales, they're up. They're up year over year, and it's been growing. When I was talking with some of the sources for the story, someone said it would be like including CD sales when looking at all music sales, because vinyl is up 17, it has been up for the last 17 years. It's seen growth. So when we look at the statistics and, the sky is falling, physical media is crumbling, obviously it's not doing the best it could be, but the market for these higher quality discs are actually doing incredibly well, and a lot of these labels are taking advantage of that.
So who's buying them? I mean, obviously, I'm probably the only one buying DVDs. I found one at a library book sale that looked interesting. But who is buying these Blu-rays and these 4K Ultras?
For a long time, it was older millennials, and sort of like Blockbuster became obsolete. Obviously, Netflix just ended their disc service, I think, last year. So for a long time, it was sort of the older millennial. But through a lot of my research, Gen Z is becoming a collecting class again. They're really interested in having physical copies of these things that they love. And I think part of that is, the scarcity mindset. We're worried about what lives on Netflix, what lives on Max, what lives on Hulu, and its ability to be ripped off and like that. It's like very deeply ingrained into how they consume, what they consume, and why they're consuming it. So it's actually, the market is getting bigger. A lot of the execs that I talked to at the labels, they joked for a long time about how it used to just be like your dad watching Iron Man in the basement. But now it's a lot of younger people rediscovering old classics. Horror is a big one. It's starting to become way more popular the same way that vinyl is becoming so deeply ingrained into our music buying again.
So it seems like there's multiple reasons that people would want to own a physical copy, aside from the one that I think we've been hearing a lot lately, which is just this fear that something is going to get pulled off the internet or off of a streaming service and then not available anymore. What would you say is some of the top other reasons for wanting those physical copies? Is it just bonuses? Is it that there's, having that physical copy, particularly like a 4K Ultra, has a better quality versus streaming? what are all of these factors that are going into people's minds when they search for a physical copy?
The quality is a huge piece of it. I don't own a ton of 4K Ultra HD discs, but the people that I know who do, and through reporting this story, the quality is apparently unmatched. It's just we no longer have to deal with the Netflix version being really dark and being unable to see what people are saying, or the audio being grainy. Like, these labels who are putting these discs out have gone through the greatest care to make it the highest quality product possible. And that often includes, while not only remastering, it includes including those extras, repackaging it into a beautiful product. Steelbooks are a huge deal now. And independent of like the highest quality piece of it and the scarcity mindset, people are just collecting again.
One of the biggest blows to physical movie sales in the past year was Best Buy's announcement that they would no longer be selling DVDs and Blu-rays. But that has created a huge online marketplace for these products. And specialty producers like Kino Lorber and Vinegar Syndrome have tried to fill the gap.
It's almost always online, and it's almost always with these like boutique labels. What was one thing that I found really interesting when I was going through the story is that Best Buy's Blu-ray collection was often supplemented by these smaller labels that like nobody knows their names of. Obviously not nobody, but like the broader movie-going audience doesn't know who Kino Lorber is or Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow Studios, but they're often a lot of the volume that's going to places like Best Buy and Walmart are through these boutique labels. But yeah, most people are going online to places like Criterion and buying their Blu-rays. There's just no place to go physically anymore. Best Buy removing all of those things. Walmart still has them, but they're getting, harder and harder to find. And Target has such a niche collection. It's so small that you can't really go like browse for them. There's a large network of people who are trying to save physical media stores, but they're few and far between now, unfortunately.
After the break, what can the movie industry learn from the resurgence of vinyl records?
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
In 1978, gay people in California faced a dire threat.
Proposition 6, the Briggs Initiative.
The teaching profession is riddled with the homosexual element.
John Briggs is going to fire every gay and lesbian school teacher in the state of California.
I'm Christina Cauterucci. This season on Slow Burn, we'll explore how a nationwide backlash against gays and lesbians led to a massive showdown in California.
This was tens of thousands of pissed-off gay guys and lesbians roaring down Market Street.
With so much at stake, young people became activists.
We've got to fight back. We can't let this happen in California.
And activists became leaders.
My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you.
Slow Burn, Season 9, Gays Against Briggs. Listen to the whole season now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Record labels and musicians seem to have realized that fans are interested in owning physical copies of records they love. Meanwhile, it's unclear how the movie industry will settle in. I asked Ash if the companies making physical releases are concerned about losing momentum or having to shut down completely.
They don't seem concerned at all, which was so fascinating when I talked with all of them. Many of them were like, we had the best year ever last year. We did incredibly well. We're putting out more titles than we ever have. We're like getting more distribution deals than we ever have. Like our audience is getting bigger. These are the people who are like, DVD is dead, but Blu-ray is rising. They just don't seem that concerned. They seem really confident in their audience. And they seem really confident that its steady growth is, leading to a very interesting place in physical media collecting. And a lot of them said, we're not scared of streaming. Access is so important. And people having access to more titles leads to people loving film and wanting to have power over it and wanting to have it in their physical collections.
We talked a little bit about vinyl records. What do you think the physical movie industry is taking from or learning from the return of vinyl records?
Vinyl records are doing a lot of what people are clamoring for in movies. Vinyl records are, even if it's not like the highest quality product, which is a huge difference between the Ultra HD video that's coming out in vinyl, is they're adding bonus tracks, they're adding exclusive posters, they're adding different variants. Taylor Swift is, for better or for worse, changing the vinyl industry and putting out 5 to 6 to 10 different versions of these albums with their own special value packed into them. And all of these boutique labels are doing exactly that, but the big studios aren't listening, like with the Challenger's release that we talked about earlier. The vinyl growth, I think, along with the way that people are consuming music right now, is also just most modern vinyl releases have an added value. And what I find really interesting about that is we're increasingly learning that these modern vinyl pressings aren't the highest quality. And they're shipping out to people warped or skipping and whatever else, where an Ultra HD video is the highest quality, the highest possible media you can own. It's the highest possible media you can see without going to a theater. And yet their profit projections are almost inverse. Vinyl's been up for the last 17 years, whereas disc sales have been dwindling for the last 16. So I find it really interesting that big studios don't see that and don't really capitalize on what is possible for physical Blu-ray and Ultra HD discs.
How do you think film studios are treating the physical media industry? I mean, are they embracing it enough? I mean, it kind of sounds like they are a little bit resentful and that they would rather just sort of either put it out, just the version, or shunt it off to a streaming platform.
I'm not 100% sure how they view it. I reached out to a couple of studios that never got back to me when I was reporting this story, but it definitely seems like, especially by how fast a movie goes to streaming now, like there's such a short time between theater release to being available on VOD that I have to wonder if they care or not, if the bottom line is met and the streaming deal has been signed and they just don't see the value in taking that extra step, because creating Ultra HD and 4Ks are expensive. That was one thing that everyone that I talked to made very clear. It's an expensive endeavor, and it's often a risk to, take 10,000 units on this very high-tech piece of media that maybe not a lot of people understand quite yet. But then there's people like Christopher Nolan who get out on, Best Picture winner, going out and calling streaming services evil and being like, I'm going to wait for the Oppenheimer release until I can get it just right. Granted, not every director, in fact, very few, have the power that Christopher Nolan does to influence both streamers and big movie studios, but I think the tides are turning. We'll see. I'm curious to watch what the releases look like for something like Megalopolis that's coming out, this like big Francis Ford Coppola release that's happening later in the year. And I'm trying to keep an eye on what people are doing, but I'm not exactly sure where they see this fitting into their bottom line.
How worried are you about the future of physical media generally? I mean, do you think we really are going to get to a point where we don't own any of our art?
Before reporting the story, I would have said I was a little bit more worried. But after working through this and talking with not only the people who are creating these discs, but the people who are collecting them, I think the love of collecting and the love of movies is going to pull through. I also think as the tides turn on streaming, or the sort of just attitude generally around streaming changes, I think more and more people are going to be drawn to these places. Another big reason that I am not too scared is I think A24 specifically has like really proven what's possible, because they're in a really specific place where they are not only producer, but they're distributor. And they have the opportunity to put out these really beautiful releases. And because they're involved in every step of the process, the release has already been thought of before the movie's out, before the movie reaches theaters, before the marketing even begins. They've thought about commentary and what the art for the cover is going to be. And A24, I think we're finally at a place where I think it's a household name, especially for people going to the theater. And I think I'll be really interested to see if other studios try and do something that's similar that they have, because they're such they have a very similar product to Criterion in a lot of ways. And they're so beloved among both film lovers and like casual moviegoers alike. So I am way less worried than I was a couple of months ago, but I suppose we'll see.
How do you feel about movie streaming generally? Do you find it valuable for how you watch movies, or is it more of just like an ends to a mean? It's like, I just want to watch this movie, so I'll turn on streaming.
No, I definitely find it valuable, especially because streaming it's not just Netflix anymore. Like, my birthday just passed, and a friend of mine got me a 3-month subscription to the Criterion channel, which is streaming, and it's opened up an entire new array of film that I may not have seen. But also, like, I live in Brooklyn, New York. I very much recognize that not everyone has the space to collect DVDs the way we did. They're not inexpensive to have. Equity among being able to consume media is really important. It's definitely, as we look at streaming getting more and more expensive, that's also going to be a conversation. But I think streaming and access to movies is really important. And if you can't get to a theater, you can't afford to get to a theater, having these films available to you is really important. The balance of physical media and streaming is really complicated and far above my pay grade, but I definitely think that streaming has its place and it's important. I think like the shortened period between theater releases to immediately going to streaming is what's hurting a lot of things, because people will just skip out on theater because they know that in 5 weeks' time it'll be available to them with the click of a button. I think like the studios need to really figure out how they see these things working cohesively together if we're going to see every aspect of movie making and collecting really boom again.
Ash Nelson, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Ash Nelson is a marketer and business journalist. And that's it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell and Patrick Fort. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne. Alicia Montgomery is vice president of audio for Slate. TBD is part of the larger What Next family, and if you're a fan of the show, I have a small request for you. Become a Slate Plus member. Just head on over to slate.com/whatnextplus to sign up. We'll be back next week with more episodes. Until then, I'm Cheyna Roth, in for Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.